This is my R32 Skyline GTR.
And it's gone through many phases up to this point. I bought this car and it first had a couple light mods, then we slapped on some TE37 reps, then we went full hot boy and slammed it on work wheels, then we went even hotter boy and added on a full Advan livery, but then we swapped out the hot boy wheels and had white TE37s, we dialed up the suspension and got some fitting Advan wheels, and eventually I tore the livery off to put on what we have now as our personalized retro future themed Skyline. That just covers the visuals. It doesn't include all the other additional changes we've added to the car along, but it's safe to say we've gotten to the point now where we can focus on adding the little details to the car, and that's exactly what we'll be adding in this video. However, before we get to that, we had a couple issues that we had to deal with prior. We're out in the Skyline today, over in the Tempe, Arizona area. Oh God, that's not good. Something's hitting the ground. But luckily we're literally right where we need to be because we're getting a photo shoot done. Yeah, that's not good. Let's see, what do we got here? Oh, it's this section this time. Usually it's down here, this piece, but it's actually this one. Jamie is here to my rescue. All right, so this is all intact. The skid plate's still down in there. Oh, my savior. What's funny is that I just zip tied the back section of the skid plate. Maybe when I zip tied that, I put in so much pressure that it maybe had to like release somewhere else. But
it's better that it stayed on, because if the other side wasn't zip tied, you might have just lost the whole thing completely.
Dude, true that.
All right, you want to hold
All
it
right,
up?
now. Oh,
That's
wait.
about...
What? Bro, you just zip tied
Oh,
it to
no.
itself. I was like,
I
what?
thought I had it under the metal here.
Wait, do we have any clippers?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's so funny. He didn't attach this at all. He just literally zip tied it around it.
I was like, why isn't it going up?
It's all right. There's definitely plenty of places you can zip tie this to, which is at least a good thing. He's taking photos of this, so we gotta make sure the zip ties aren't too visible. Oh man, it's so jank right now.
Oh, it's so oily under there.
Yeah, don't worry about that. It looks fine from 5 feet away. At least it won't sound like I'm on train tracks when I'm going home. Well, the good news is my lip is no longer smacking the ground, and we got your boy taking rollers of us, so we're able to continue on with the shoot. You doing good up there?
Yup. Just got some airtime.
Oh boy. Always can count on a taco for that. The zip tie broke, man. She sheared right off. God dang it. You hear it? No. I guess he heard it behind, dude. As soon as I sped up on the freeway, just...
Zip ties usually solve all issues, so that's a lot of downforce you're working
We
on.
got more for later.
Let's go! Jamie is just saving me left and right tonight. See, this is why you come out with your other 90s Nissan-oriented cars, because they'll have parts that you'll need. No, this thing actually has to provide a crap ton of downforce.
Yeah, dude.
Because, like, these are fat. These zip ties, so for it to fully wrap around and immediately just shear it off is, like, crazy.
You had to have like clipped it on something enough to like pull it down.
No, it was just as soon as I got up to speed.
Oh,
Like as soon as I got past like probably what was like 70 miles an hour or whatever, it just, all of a sudden it was just nothing, and then I was like, yeah, it snapped off.
I could hear. I thought I blew my motor. I was like, no, it's misfiring, and I'm like, oh no, that's him. 'Cause I could see the light gap, and all I saw was like, boo, 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 boo,
It went from pain to then just laughter.
not laughter, just like, I'm gonna have to fix that.
Clearly one wasn't enough.
Oh, what? Like try it without it.
Here we go. We're just gonna leave these here. I'm too lazy now, but we have 2 this time. So I'm out driving. The temperatures are insanely cold right now. My battery is toast. But we got the car alive. I'm trying to limp her back home, but she wants to die out on me. Oh my God. Holy crap. So yeah, she just died out just there. and she sputters back to life. And I'm pretty sure this is a battery, or, I mean, it's also looking like it's the alternator because the car's power is not keeping the battery alive. We're getting on the freeway now. This is not ideal. Oh my God, it just died. Literally, it's losing power and then starting up. This is so weird. Yeah, this is so scary. I don't even really know what's happening. I've never experienced this where the car is just flickering. Oh. It just died and then came back to life. I have my headlights on dim because if I have them any brighter, I feel like that's gonna pull more power. This truck is just staying with me. Can you please just pass me or something? Like, stop hanging there. It's freaking me out. Thank you. Now this guy is pacing me. He's slowing down. Dude, he knows. We literally have a fan. Dude, this is like the one time I'm too stressed out for any sort of attention that I could get in this car, and this is what's happening. I literally can't drive on the freeway in peace. Oh my God. At this point, I'm praying for every light to be green. Thank you, man. Thank you. Well, boys, we have made it home. One of the scariest drives of my life. This car has definitely been putting up a fight today, that's for sure. First the freaking lip, now this.
With miraculously making it home, I didn't waste any time to start fixing our issues. I started out by removing the front bumper and taking care of our front lip.
So I did this once before, and I was really hoping that the second lip I put on this car wouldn't have the same fate. But when you have a front splitter that seems to be causing more problems than downforce, what do? You simply cut the skid plate portion out of the equation, and you remain your front lip purely for cosmetics. Hey! Yeah, at least it's flexible again. It actually is kind of nice because the skid plate started collecting certain leaks. Like, I know this car leaks power steering. In the event that it also leaks any other oil or anything else, it'll go straight to my garage floor, which in my opinion I think is actually better because you'd be able to know when it's leaking. And hopefully now I won't have any more separation of lips or bumpers. And yeah, this car barely gets driven above like 120 miles an hour ever. So I honestly think even though it's less functional, who cares? This is for aesthetics only.
The next morning, I started to tackle our power issue by removing the battery and starting there.
Yeah, I'd say this boy has been through it. I lost one of these covers a long time ago, so I just duct taped that. Don't know how bad that is. As well as the fact that look how corroded each of the ends are. So we have a new Duralast Gold going in. Hopefully it should fit and last the car a lot better.
Due to the extreme temperature seasonal changes out here in Arizona, I fully expected the battery to be the problem. The previous battery had cooled down a lot and was really small, so I crossed my fingers and prepared for the first start with the new battery.
So one of my pet peeves when it comes to car modifications is when people buy carbon parts and they're fully exposed and then they clearly don't blend well with the car. Hoods are the main thing. People do fenders and other stuff too, and sometimes it's a really cool like built modified look, but other times it just looks splotchy. And especially on like a white car or a bright red car, to just have, you know, hood all of a sudden essentially look black from afar. On top of that, if the hood lines themselves don't flow with the rest of the body lines, then also that just like bothers my OCD. So I'm guilty of this with this hood on this car. I've left it exposed all this time. This is the Sabin hood that we have for this thing because it is a dark gray car. It's a very subtle material change. And then of course, this was one of the first ever carbon hoods or carbon pieces I'd ever had on a car at the time. So, you know, new in the cars Jack was like, I gotta show everybody the world all my carbon weave. Now I feel like it's finally come to the point where I think this car deserves that this is fully painted and fully matched to everything else. I think overall, it'll be a lot cleaner to have the overall whole body all be one color, especially if I ever decide to ditch these vinyl decals and stuff and want the car just one simple plain color, I don't have to worry about a random carbon hood kind of being out of place. And we could still have fun with it. I plan on probably leaving like some of these ducts exposed in carbon, as well as maybe the insides of the vents right here. That way it could be a if you know, you know, or even while you're driving, you can still see carbon, but you know, from its main view, the car is all one color. And so with that, we're going to have to uninstall a modification that we installed a long time ago. I mean, this was back in like, we put this thing on here early 2019. Oh, we didn't even get the freaking wait, bro, what? This whole time, it's literally just been running on 3 bolts. We have 1 bolt here, but we got 2 bolts over there. But hey, that just goes to show you my build quality from 2019, and we never bothered to do anything about that. Yeah, right? You just lift from over there. Yeah. Yeah, so like kind of light, but probably could be lighter. 1, 2 step. Just dropped off the hood over here at Momo's garage. She's gonna be taking care of it, gonna leave some carbon bits exposed, so it will be a if you know, you know hood to stare at, but I'm really excited to see how it's gonna later on look on the car.
What do you have to say?
Nothing. Yo, dude, this guy brought out a relic. He's wearing the cotton candy hoodie today. Go check out the site if there's still some there. Can't guarantee it, but there's other good hoodies.
I'll buy the rest.
Damon's just staring.
Hey,
R32 no hood.
We have to do it once. We're gonna take the car out without the hood. I don't even know if it's gonna sound any different, but
Might get more induction noise, but
big tuner boy energy here, you know? No hood, crazy power.
bringing out the Honda.
You'll get a lot of wine with it off on the spot.
Yeah, we should just take off the hoods of everything.
Take the head off of everything at this point.
Just the mechanical standpoint of like no.
I feel like
hood.
okay, no. I feel
like somebody's gonna like drop rocks in your engine or something. I don't know.
The gas cap.
I forgot about that.
Well,
who needs that either?
might as well take the trunk off.
I know. I was just gonna say.
How many body panels can we remove?
Yeah, literally. Doors off.
Doors off. Trunk off.
Yeah. So now that we wait for the hood to finish up being painted, I wanted to move on to the topic of taillights. These are the taillights that are currently on my R32. They have always been on my R32 because they came on this car when I bought it, but these are not the factory taillights. These are D-Max taillights. They individually have bulbs right here that light up. Looks a little something like that. Now I am aware that some people may find these extremely cool and dare say it is an upgrade to the vehicle. However, I've never had the OEM taillights for this car. I've never gotten to really see what they look like. And one thing that's always bothered me about these is how this reverse light right here is very hazed out, very yellow. And as far as what I've seen, most of these aftermarket taillights have this sort of finish to them. I could try and polish and buff this out, but I don't think it's gonna end up much more clear. And so this is why I have picked up these right here. These are in fact the OEMs. You could immediately see the center reverse area is a lot darker, a lot tinted, looks a lot more stealthy. These taillights have always been a signature part of the R32 rear end that I have never had the opportunity to truly have. They're actually a lot more simple. I can take out this rear piece and you can see they're only just 3 individual bulbs, and then the lenses themselves kind of create an ambient effect of those signature Skyline halos. Now with all this being said, finding any OEM JDM part is tough to source resource out, and I found these for a incredibly cheap price on eBay, so I was wondering what the catch was going to be. And clearly you can see some black tar residue, some tape. I don't know what in the world this is, but there's some adhesive all over it. That could be wiped off. And then there are two little holes down here just on this tail light. I suspect is to let water drain out, so hopefully these don't have too bad of a condensation issue, and hopefully the plugs and everything all connect up. Now what I'm gonna have to do is, the fact that I found them in KH2 gray already to match with the car, because there's a gazillion other Skyline colors out there that these could have came in, is a pretty handy coincidence, but unfortunately it's gonna serve as useless, because as some of you guys know, my car was in fact repainted at a point, and the respray is closer to the purple, more blue side of gray, and these obviously coming off of an entire different car is not gonna match perfectly in direct sunlight. And so I'm gonna try and separate the outside painted covers of these and replace them with mine that are currently on the car so that we can have a direct match. And hopefully that's not gonna be too much of an issue.
I started out by removing my R32 taillights, and thankfully it's not much of a hassle. You do not need to remove the rear bumper. There's just 4 simple nuts attached to each of the studs, and with a decent amount of wiggling, eventually the taillights should pop out.
That took so much extra finagling to get each 4 of these studs out, because this adhesive piece was getting stuck to the car. I didn't even realize this was there. So you can see the difference of the taillight design, but look at the painted housing. Look at the gray here, and look at the gray over here. You could clearly see how much colder that is and just a tone difference. Now thankfully, there are screws on the edges right here that I can only suspect are for the outer painted housing of these taillights. And both of them have them, so this should be pretty easy to separate the faces.
Sure enough, the taillight covers immediately separated themselves, and I got to see the inner workings of the D-Max taillights. While my OEMs were exposed, I did the service of detailing them and freshening them up from what they were like before. Then I reassembled the OEMs, reinstalled them back into the car, and tested to make sure if they worked and we were in business. I moved on to the left side set, reassembled those, and popped those back into the car as well.
Now the next thing we got for the Skyline are some speakers. We have front door speakers and we have rear speakers behind the seats. Now thankfully we've had our Apple CarPlay upgrade installed for many years now, but if I play some non-copyrighted YouTube music, you'll find out that the only speaker playing is one rear speaker in the left. There are no door speakers currently playing whatsoever, and that one back there is literally on its way out too. Yeah, listen to that. It's time this car gets an upgrade.
To get access to the Skyline door speakers, the safest approach is to take off the entire door card itself.
I wanted to point out there were only 2 Phillips screws that were holding in this speaker. It is a 4x6, I believe, and that is the size you need to correctly replace this. So after looking at the way that these were spliced in, these definitely are aftermarket. That would explain the missing screws that this has been touched with before. But yeah, there should be a factory plug, and these are just directly spliced to the speaker, which makes my life a lot easier because that's what the new speaker is like. And take a look at our fancy newer Rockfords.
I reassembled the right side door card, put it all back together, and moved on to the left side, which came out and was just an easy process. Moving on to the back of the car, it definitely tested out my flexibility as I had to work around these giant rear seats in my way.
Well, the pros of the back speakers are that you don't have to take apart that much. However, it's a large squeeze. I'm too lazy to fully remove the rear seats, so I'm just gonna let one side hang out. And then we have access to them back there and over there. But yeah, it's pretty hot back here and there's not much room to work with. We have the 2 new ones right here and they'll fit right in. Well guys, I can happily admit that we have a brand new sound system for the Skyline. We have our door speaker right down here. Then we have another door speaker working in there. And then we have our 2 rear speakers. Those are installed in behind the seats. And then I kind of went a little extra. If you come back to the trunk here, you'll find that I have added a big bazooka subwoofer. Now, of course, this needed an additional amp back here. So we have another Alpine amp over there, and that all wires up to the front with the power. And then we have our speaker wire that is wiring the sub. And you can't feel it, but she's bassy. Of course, the non-copyrighted monkey spinning monkeys music is not doing the system justice. I really wish I could show you guys the level to which we've upgraded this car. Literally from 1.5 rear speakers, one of them literally being blown, to now a full car stereo with a sub in the back. This car's stereo is literally better than half the cars that I currently own now.
It was finally time to make our way back over to Momo's garage and see how the hood turned out.
Here she is, all painted up in the KH2 gunmetal gray. And you guys can see how we separated the exposed wet carbon fiber. The coolest thing is that when you'll be driving the car, you'll still see the exposed carbon from the driver's point of view or the passengers. So this is actually what I'm most concerned about.
This is what I'm concerned about. It's the first time we're seeing it in the sun.
Yeah, because my car was repainted gunmetal gray at one point, and my repaint is not perfect to OEM. So this is why you always got to give the painter pieces to match. And I mean, in the sunlight, it's pretty spot on. Yeah, it literally looks identical. So they have like a specific scan tool or something that like can like replicate this too?
Yes, and they go based off the year and the paint code.
Gotcha.
So like they'll try to get it as close, but I did let them know that it was an aftermarket paint job.
Yeah.
I told them that it has more purple than,
Yeah.
you know, black.
Before I got to installing the hood, I wanted to make one last use of it being off by giving the car an oil change.
Now the most convenient part is that getting to the oil filter, I don't have to worry about a big hood in my way. I could just jump right on in here, start unscrewing it.
Even though the car had only put on less than 3,000 miles since the last oil change, it had been quite a long time, coming up on close to 2 years now. With the car firing up healthy and our bubble wrap in place to protect from the exhaust sharts, it was now time to actually install the hood. Since I was tackling this as a one-man job, I used painter's tape to tape up each corner to protect the paint from any scratches, proceeded to lift up the hood, place it, and it was surprisingly easy to align all the bolts in and get her done.
Would you look at that? Sometimes the best things in cars come in the tiny little details. Everything that we've added onto this car, no one would notice unless I told you. And now we have our hood matched to the KH2 gray. Phenomenal color match as well. You literally cannot tell any difference. And then you have the little exposed carbon. Oh my gosh, this is so entertaining. Like, I just feel like this is way more fun to show people now and have them at meets or at shows or even come to my garage and I could point out, hey, look at this right here, rather than the carbon just being entirely in your face. And just getting to stare at the car, it just looks a lot more complete, a lot more cohesive altogether. Almost looks OEM, but you clearly got some aggression there with all the venting. And then if I plop on the lights, I go over here, flick those, we have our OEMs, and oh my, I am so in love. I don't know how to explain it to you guys. These just look period correct. These look like they are from the 90s, just like the car, whereas the previous taillights, they're aftermarket, and they are a little more retro looking, but I would argue they're more of a 2000s tuner pimp style, whereas this is how this car was meant to be. And just the ambient of them, the halos, their signature. It's just crazy to me. It's surreal for me because this is the classic Skyline look, and I've never had it on my own Skyline after all of these years. It sounds crazy to say, but we are coming up on 7 years since owning this car, coming up this May. And it's about time that she got these final little additions that she needed all along.
So everyone can have their favorite phase of this car because it's had a decent amount up till now. But as you can expect, I would argue that this is peak because, I mean, it's just in its best state it's ever been. But on top of that, this livery means a lot to me because I designed it myself, I rendered it out, and stuff that I'd done in the past, like the Advan livery, is super flamboyant, super sick, but that wasn't really me. That was me just representing history and another brand, whereas this is entirely my own, and it's a lot more detail focused. How the acid green calipers goes with the acid green accents. Now you have the hood match and little carbon peeking out here and there, and the whole car is functional setup, so it's on functional Yokohama tires with Olin suspension. It's not slammed, I can take it to places, and it drives like a Skyline GTR should. And knock on wood, ever since we put that newer R34 RB in there, the car has not caused me any major motor issues, and now with the added sound system and just how usable this car is, I really just intend on keeping it that way, and that of course is going to mean that I'm going to still hold off on adding any sort of bigger power, because with adding power always comes some sort of higher risk of blowing something or damaging something, and the car is just so, like, it's literally daily drivable right now. This is my current personal opinion, but I believe that a Skyline that you could daily drive and take out all the time is a lot cooler than a Skyline where you could hurt a couple egos here or there in. And that opinion might change someday if we do ever add some bigger power, but for now, that's where my line is at. So on that note, thank you guys for tuning in on the little additions and us cleaning up this car. It is doing phenomenal out here in Arizona, and I'll keep you guys updated with anything else involving it. But I mean, don't mind me, I'm gonna go out and enjoy it now.
Now you can just like go up to people, hit the washer, and just
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we should do that.
wash your car with it.
That is if I have any washer fluid in there. Where even is the reservoir?
Right here.
Oh, dude, this is pretty bone dry.
Yeah.
We should fill that just so we could start squirting at people, you know?
We could have an infinite water source.
Infinite washer fluid glitch.
Yeah.
Also, for anyone who's extra curious, I did in fact add an additional bolt this time when installing the hood. It's not pretty, but it is there, and it wasn't before, so now we're good.